All right, how about now, guys? That should be working. Is that working? Yep, there is no audio, no audio. I'm with you. Mic check, 1, 2. No sound. Still no sound? All right, we got good, good, good. Had to set the right setting for you guys. That is what I'm talking about. Look at all these people showing up. Man, I love when you guys just stream in here. I love that. 5 by 5. That's amazing. Okay, so final check real quick. Just show me in thumbs up over there in the comments. I've got audio, 1 thumbs up. I've got video, 2 thumbs up. If we're good there, we can start this party. I think we are, but let me just see you over there. Sweet. Oh, look at all those thumbs up. Awesome. Incredible. All the thumbs. I love that. Good stuff. Excellent, excellent, excellent. That's awesome. Man, I hope you guys are having a great Saturday because Saturdays are meant to be great. I'm going to be honest, they are. Right up there with Friday nights. Texas is kicking out Cornyn. Who wants him? Ooh, ugh, that's a hard one. Man, all right, so while we filter everybody in, let's do the basic, everything we always do. Make sure you put where you are in the chats. Make sure that you guys are just kind of active. Ask any questions you can because I will jump over there as soon as I can. And once we get to around 500 people, which is our norm for beginning, we'll dive in. Oh, and happy Father's Day to everybody who has a father or is a father or is related to a father because we all got them. So make sure you send that along. All right, we got Virginia, Washington, Florida, Arkansas, Delaware. Oh, Delaware, you had a rough week. You had a rough week. Indiana, Oklahoma, can't. Oh, it's going too fast now. All right. Pennsylvania, Detroit, Indiana, Arkansas. Man, this is awesome. Western Arizona, you guys have some interesting stuff coming up. You have some very interesting stuff politically coming up. All right, so all these names. All right, guys, make sure you drop a like and send this out on the socials so we can get this in here because we have a lot of stuff to recap this week because this week was off the charts. This was crazy town. Vegas, Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, Louisiana. Man, this is awesome. We're all over the place. Ohio, I love that. Transfer Cornyn to Delaware. Yeah, no kidding, Ralph. That's right. Oh, there's the Californians. My first live. Well, welcome to Retired Sarge. Happy Father's Day. This is awesome. Missouri. Might be glad Ward Blunt is retiring. Yeah, that was an interesting thing. We're definitely going to talk about that later. It was definitely definitely an interesting week. I'll tell you that, guys. It was busy. All right, the only places I haven't seen so far listed out in the comments. I was about to say Oregon, and there's Seattle. Nice. Oregon, Washington, Northeast, not the city. Sorry. Michigan, awesome. Rose Blight, Texas, signing in. Hey, thank you so much, Rose. That is awesome. Welcome to the party. Wyoming, oh man, Wyoming, guys. I love Wyoming. Wyoming is a beautiful place. I got to make it out to Montana one time. All right. So it looks like we have got everything here. This is awesome. Johnson City, Tennessee. Man, guys, you guys are doing great. This is some great work. All right. So we have got over our 500 concurrent viewer minimum. So let's get this party going. As you guys know, for these lives, I try to do one of them every weekend. Make sure we stay connected. It gets a little more personality, a little more fun. And I'll do a recap, and then I'll do a live Q&A as we go forward on these. If you have anything, just throw it over there in the comments field because I try to get to them as soon as I can. It's kind of difficult sometimes when you have a lot of questions, but if I can see it and it stands out, I will get it. But if I skip yours, it is not on purpose. It's because we have a lot of them going through. I'm going to do a basic recap. These typically last around 30 to 45 minutes, and we are going to have some fun because I love being here with you guys. All right, so let's dive into this. First of all, what did you guys think of the gun control action this week with the Senate deal and all of that? I am super curious what the people thought about that because that was a lot. I mean, kind of going back in ice cold. I'll hit the ATF director in a second. So what's going back in about 6 days, that's when the gun deal was released from the Senate. Just so you guys know, like, last Sunday, the one that just passed, so 6 days ago, that's when they introduced that bill. That's how much has happened since then, which is insane. Oh man, it's crazy. We had a question about the ATF director. That's a very good question. So as of right now, the ATF director, ice cold, is stuck in committee. They split the committee 11-11, which means Republicans and Democrats both said yay, both said nay, so they were tied. Well, what that means is there's a procedural vote that can go on in the Senate floor, put forward by Chuck Schumer. He can pull that out of committee. It's called forcing out of committee without recommendation, and then they can have a floor vote on it. It looks like they have enough Republicans to do it. So I don't know if it's actually going to outcome, but so far they're saying they have enough because they don't have the same problem they had with the other guy. I cannot remember, Chipman. 2A stays strong. Racing in South Carolina. We are, man. We are trying. That is what they're trying to do. So that's actually a really good point from our seeing in South Carolina, right? Guys, we are a very strong population. We have a lot of history behind us. We have a lot of rights behind us. We have the Constitution. We have everything that we have, and it's going to go in our direction. But we need to apply energy and love in the same way that it came before us, because we can make this happen. Oh man, those two aren't Republicans. I assume you're talking about Collins and the guy from Missouri. I think it was I can't remember his last name, but yeah, that sounds about right. There's always an abolish the NFA in here. I love that. Every single time. Why is Mass so anti-2A? Because, everyone's got to be known for something. Florida's got all that freedom. Massachusetts has got all that communism. Thank you for being a beacon for all. 2A from New Jersey. Oh, behind enemy lines. Well, I thank you. It is what it is. I appreciate that. We are in this together, though. Could not do it without you guys. All right, Rose, you are correct. Rose just hit something with one of the bullet points that we're going to talk about. They did get booed off. Cornyn absolutely got booed off the stage, and that's because of you guys. That's not because he did anything. That's because of you guys. Particularly impressive was the fact that he was trying to sell the entire gun control package to Republicans at the GOP convention, and they all booed him off the stage, which was incredible. It was a good thing to see because, honestly, he deserved that one. Nikki U. Satterfield, Red Wave 2022. I'm going to be honest. I'm fully in that boat. I'm fully in that boat. I think that is going to happen in a big way. Good work, my friend. Thank you, Frank. AWB and MagBan in Delaware. From what I understand, Thomas, that is going in Delaware to the governor's desk. So, free Florida. Man, I'm tempted to go to Florida, I'm going to be honest with you. All right, so let's dive into Alabama. What's up? I can't talk about that. I can't talk about that. That's hilarious. All right, so Street Player just asked a very good question, which I will address, and then I'll go into a couple of prepared points, and we'll kind of guide this a little more. What's going on with the ammunition from Lake City? Okay, so that is a very, very good question. I'll be honest with you. I just haven't had a chance to get a video out on it for a couple reasons, but I'm just going to hit on it a few times. Okay, so earlier, I believe it was our midpoint this week, there was a couple gun YouTubers who put out a lot of videos. Well, not one individual, but across the board, there was a lot of gun videos on this, around Lake City ammunition being forced by the Biden administration to not sell surplus ammo to the civilian market, specifically for the M855 or the green tips, or for the layman, another round for the AR-15 platform. Now, the thing about that is it's unsubstantiated because there's not given proof of what was said. It was said as a source. So I cannot, and this is one of the reasons I didn't go forward with the story, is because I can't say absolutely here's my sourcing, and I'm not putting any kind of shade on anybody who covered this. It's just, for me, I had other things that I knew 100% were relevant to where we were fighting, and that was unconfirmed for me at that time. Now, since then, I've seen other videos where they've actually called the base, and the PR officer said, no, that's not true. It's not a directive that we have. So putting all that aside, that's kind of the backstory. When we're talking about the actual implications of that, because obviously there's a worry, hey, you take 30% of the ammo out of the market, it makes price go up, you're doing gun control through pricing. Well, the big thing about that was we already had an example when Biden was first inaugurated where he banned all Russian ammunition, and because the contracts lasted for 2 years, it basically got replaced in the free market system in other companies abroad that don't have bans, and we actually saw more ammo come in because more was bought because of that action. I expect a very similar thing would occur because demand is exactly the same. It's not something where if you reduce the supply by 30%, people are going to go, okay, well, there go my rights. I don't really care anymore. No, someone else is going to find a way to meet that demand because it's a free market system. So that's my look on that, and I'll keep you guys updated on that because I'm not diving into it too yet until I have a few more details. But right now it looks like it was not a forest fire, put it that way. But yeah, so that is that point. That was a very good question. Happy Dad's Day to everybody. That is correct. All right, so let's jump into this really quickly. Are there any more constitutional carry states in the works? David, hang on for a second. We'll definitely touch on that because that's going to happen. Matthew, thank you. Yeah, that I did see that. All right, AG, it's lovely to spend some time with you guys as well. All right, let's dive into this. Right, so you guys are fully aware we had a new gun control deal or framework put forward in the Senate on Sunday. They've been working toward this for 2 weeks. So one of the things that we hit on earlier in the, I believe it was Sunday, Monday shows was what's actually in that bill. Now, the big thing about that bill is it really dials down into 4 different categories, right? You've got the school hardening, then you've got the mental school funding or mental health funding, then you have raising the age of 18 to 21, or not really raising the age for ownership, but raising for longer term background checks, and then you got the red flag laws, and I do that all the time. It's not red flag laws from a perspective of federal red flag laws. It's a perspective of funding for the red flag laws. So you're talking about funding that comes from the federal government going directly towards the states to incentivize red flag law systems, not impose them from a federal level, which would mean federal judicial courts, federal episodes. No, that would be a problem. So that's what that is. Now, what's really interesting about that is why did the left not like that, right? Because the whole thing, the gun control side of the argument was always like, if we can save one life, if we can do one thing, if we can just do some common sense gun control. Well, the Republicans came to the table and said, we'll negotiate, here's a framework, and the left was upset. You saw AOC go down her normal road of saying, I'm going to mess everything up for the Democrats because I'm a progressive. It's a very interesting thing, and then you saw the negotiations start to falter. So that only occurred on Sunday, just to give you an idea of how crazy time is flying. So all this stuff is happening, which is why I love you guys for staying up to date because we're getting the information now. And of course, red flag laws are unconstitutional. Legitimately, they've already been proven so. And if this continues and more red flag laws pop up across the board, you're going to see them even more get more attention and will end up in the Supreme Court. It'll be the next Brewer decision, which is where we're going to be next week. El Guapo. Okay, excellent question. Just joined the chat. Sorry if you already answered this. Is there any chance that the Bruin decision could affect the magazine ban or AR ban? Happy Father's Day. Well, happy Father's Day to you too, El Guapo. It's kind of a mixed bag on that, right? Because if they go forward and they really dive into the decision and say an infringement from the state level is not their responsibility, then it could factor in because it could be used as precedent in other cases going forward. If they say something very broad and they say, well, New York, you can't do that. Just pick some random places that you can't go with firearms, and then just don't tell them they can't do it, and you have to issue pistol requirements or handgun permits. If you do down that road, it really depends how they write it, which is why we're so excited. So that's one of the reasons that next week, hopefully we'll get that decision, and that'll be real fun because I'm looking forward to that one. I think it's going to be good. So I'm feeling pretty good about that one. All right. So got that one taken care of. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So I'm going to leave this one open for you guys in the chat and keep it as friendly as I can, or as you can. Why do you guys think that the left was so upset on what was not in the framework, not what was in the framework, right? Because you had originally people saying you got to have something, the media was all about there's finally negotiations. Then they went into now I'm upset because there's nothing in there. So why do you think that's the case, right? So what are your thoughts? And Biden definitely did say 9mm blows up the lungs. That was crazy. So that's actually a very good point, Lewis, and while everyone else is typing that. The wording of their red flag laws will get the foot in the door for anything bad that happens and in related issues. So it's a slippery slope. That's what he's basically saying. All right, so basically what we're talking about is you've got a wish list of things, and this actually goes into one of my other points, which we'll talk in a second. Did you guys see the video that I did on John Cornyn when he basically got up on the Senate floor and said, look at all the things that I did, look how amazing I am? Because if you guys saw that, then you're talking about something where it seemed more to be like him selling it rather than actually trying to defend our rights, if that makes sense, right? He kind of met in the middle, and he sacrificed a lot where it kind of got a little out of hand, which is why he got booed in Texas. But anyway, that was a big piece. Sorry, my throat is dry. Gotta get a sip. Sorry. You guys really think that bike thing's funny? All right, so I am catching up on these things, and I don't see the question you guys are talking about. Indy's best. That's hilarious. Sodium Soldier. That's hilarious as well. Oh, there we go. There's the question you're referring to. Why hasn't anyone been arrested for violating the code? Or, honestly, I don't know the answer to that question, because honestly, that's above my pay grade, dog the dog. I honestly don't know the answer to that question because I'm not involved in those conversations. It seems pretty legitimate that if you break an oath of office under a standing law that you can't break the oath of office, there might be consequences, but I don't 100% know that, because in Washington, D.C., things tend to go to the subjective nature much more than the hard nature of what happened. But that's my personal opinion. Man, you guys love this bike thing. That is so funny. All right, so while you guys are still rolling on that, I'm going to go into the next little piece here so we can kind of do that. Yeah, you guys are having some fun in these comments. I love that. All right. That's a good question or comment. Heard Cornyn got booed off the stage. He said he will not succumb to a mob like the people he represents. Not listening. No, and that's a very important piece. So these guys don't typically listen, right? They're completely isolated. They are off in their own little world. They stand in Washington, D.C., and they make the decisions for the rest of us little people. And they don't really listen because they can easily say, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. That's just a small minority. That's just the mob. They always do that. And then it turns out that they lose a lot because they just don't listen. If they had any common sense, they would look around and go, this is not going to work out for them very well in the constituent category. But, they do what they want. But that's a big thing. All right, so let's dive into this next one. Did you guys see the video that I did where I said the media is warning the Dems on gun control? It always costs them with inflation leading the polls. If you guys saw that, this is really important. So one of the things that we constantly hit on this channel is the whole theme, right? The broad spectrum of things that are all factoring together for our gun rights and for the movement and politics of what we're talking about, right? So the big thing that we're talking about in that case is you've got Democrat pundits and Democrat opinion articles and Democrat authors saying, hey guys, every time you try a gun control push, you lose seats. Every time that the polling is off and Biden is underwater, you lose seats. All of these things are screaming because they're trying to take the focus off of inflation, right? The Democrats want to make it all about gun control. They want to make it about women's rights to choose, whatever you want to call it. They want to reframe it away from inflation. The only problem with that is, in that video I was hitting on, inflation is literally the main focal point by over 100%. It's like 34 to 17%. Inflation is by far the top of mind, which is why you're seeing what's happened to him. All right, Angel Kincaid, I got a comment over here. If 9mm blows your lung out, 45 splits you in half, and 357 nukes the whole city block. I mean, you would think. that was a silly comment, by the way. Yes, mental cog. I did point that out with Clinton telling them to calm down. That's very true, and we're going to hit that in a second. That is about 3 points in front of where we're at, which is awesome because that was a very good one. Did you guys see that, by the way, when the video that I did on Clinton? I had a lot of very interesting comments on that one. All right, I had to make a little note to myself. Let's see here. What else we got? Grunt Styles shirt size matters. That's true, it does. Honestly, I don't know what the next thing to come up is. I honestly don't know. All right. right, so you guys are still kind of you're expressing yourselves through the medium of speech. I like that. All right, let's keep on trucking while you guys are doing that. All right, so the next one I wanted to touch on, make sure you guys were fully aware. Did you see what Biden did? Not Biden, I'm sorry, what Cornyn did across the board last week? And this is really important. Oh, hold on. I'll come back to that. I have a super chat over here. Squid Monkey. This seems like a deep question. What do you do when you've lost all faith in the executive branch and the judicial branch? They are not defending the Constitution or even following their oath, as they won't, and it sucks. All right, so that's a very important question. The first thing is I never give up on that, because while the judicial branch is a little compromised, it's also strong in different areas as well. So that's a mixed bag, right? Because Trump himself put more federal judges on the bench than Obama did in 8 years. Trump did it in 4. So that is one thing. The Supreme Court, also the highest court in the land, is leaning conservative. Now, I know you guys, someone will say John Roberts isn't a conservative. Fine. It's still leaning a conservative way, right? So I'm not terribly demoralized by the judicial branch that has in the state that it's in, because it's going in a positive direction, and hopefully it will again in 2024. Now, the executive branch is one of those things, particularly with progressive administrations, Woodrow Wilson, Biden, Obama, all of them. They tend to overstate the executive focus on their lives, because that's all they can do, because their desires are outside the confines of the Constitution. So they consistently lean on the executive powers, which are questionable, which are up for judicial review, which can be pulled back and basically revoked with the next president. But that's why they do that. So the big thing is, I know that it's rough right now with all the executive overreach, but I also know that the future has a chance to be brighter, and we can influence that. And that's one of the reasons that I'm kind of like the positive guy, the glass half empty, glass half full guy. Just because I know where we came from, I know who built our country, I know what they sacrificed, and I'm not going to fall asleep on that. So I'm going to keep that going. That's kind of my perspective on it. All right, Willie Beeman, I got another super chat. Love the channel, bro, and I have the same hat. PA State Republicans killed gun control in Philly. I don't remember if it was PA State Republicans. Oh, gun control. Yeah, that's correct. Crime out of control. Had an active shooter situation, which I can't really talk about on a live stream. Yeah, so that's an interesting one with Pennsylvania. You've got a very interesting case, because you have the House and the Senate in Pennsylvania heavily red. They put forward constitutional carry, and the Governor Wolf, the Democrat governor, killed it. If Mastriano gets in there this fall, you're going to see a significant change, and I bet you constitutional carry is going to be one of the smaller things that you're going to see get through, because he's talking about a SAPA, a state preservation for the Second Amendment. Thank you, Ken Harrison. All right, so let's get back to that question. Those were both great super chats. I appreciate that, guys. All right, so yeah, the John Cornyn thing. So something happened with John Cornyn, guys. This is really important to understand, because everything is related. Everything is a trend. So when you're talking about John Cornyn this week and what he did, if you look at his behavior, he's not as confident as he's setting off, right? So here's what I'll lay it out for you. He goes in as the negotiator for the Republicans, right? That started 2 weeks ago. Comes out, says we have a framework. Murphy on the Democrat side says we have a framework. Throughout this entire week, Cornyn gets up on the Senate floor and says, this is the bill that we're doing. This is how it won't infringe upon anybody's rights. These are the things that I told them to stop, and it wasn't happening. Look how great I am. So he's trying to sell it. Then he does all of these different press briefings and all these different little statements and points in the media that say, no, this is my red line. We won't infringe on anything. Then he goes into a Republican caucus meeting, and all he does is put out polling to convince his constituents, or not his constituents, his colleagues, that it's an okay thing to do. He then goes home to Texas. This is all within 6 days. Goes home to Texas and starts trying to sell it as, look how good I did for your rights, while he's infringing on them. So the way that I read that, he is quite literally focusing on trying to get more buy-in to it, because it's not there. They're fronting a little bit. Now, do I think they have the framework support? Yes. But when this legislation comes through, you're going to see a different animal. You absolutely are. So that's just my own personal My own personal opinion. John Cornyn is my senator and have emails to show you what I got from him. Oh, I'm sure that form letter is very, very tongue-in-cheek. Very, oh, I'm the best for the Second Amendment, and I fully believe, and not one thing will be infringed. Red line. By the way, have some red flags. 1,100 views. Go team. Yeah, it's actually concurrent views right now is at 12:15. You guys are doing awesome. Please go ahead and send that link out. Make sure you like the stream, because this is something that I want to do more of, and I think you guys get a benefit, and so do I, and I love doing it. So let's make it happen. Oh, we have another super chat over here. So, the dude, 1764. We have to pressure our Republican senators to put distance between themselves, Cornyn, Mitch, Romney, and other rhinos. They have to feel heat and understand we hold them accountable for the rhinos back home. Now, that's an exceptionally good point, the dude, 1764. So what he's alluding to there, excuse me, what he's alluding to there is it's not just about calling the senators who are the ones, the rhinos who signed on to some sort of framework, right? It's about calling your Senate representative, because when you do that, that news gets around. So, for example, in a hypothetical, let's say that Ted Cruz, who's in Texas, or Marco Rubio, bad example. Ted Cruz is in Texas. Well, if you're calling Ted Cruz and you're lighting up his phone lines, he's feeling that pressure, then he's going to convey that, guys, this is not a good idea. My phone will not stop ringing. My email will not stop ringing. We had to send it to spam folders. But my point is, if you put up the pressure on people who are not infringing and not folding, it gives them more ammunition and pressure to put forward on the other senators who are. And you've got senators in there who, quite frankly, when I saw that list of senators, I was honestly surprised. So I was like, what? What? Where'd that come from? And interestingly enough, not one of them is up for re-election, and not one of them is, some of them are retiring. So they know this is a contentious point. Anyway, I digress, but it's an excellent point. Call every single senator, not just the ones who are in question. Let's see. Heel Style 27. Hey, bud, been watching your videos for quite a while. Love what you're doing. Keep us all informed. It makes sense of the BS. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I appreciate that, Heel Style. I could not do this without you guys. You guys sending this stuff out, making sure it works and gets everywhere. It's incredibly important. You guys are awesome. Arnett 23. You're right on not losing faith in the judiciary. It takes decades to correct some court rulings. It took almost 60 years to overrule Plessy with Brown. Now, so that is an excellent point. That is an excellent point. So one of the things that we know that we do in our movement of things, and it's not just us, it's pretty much humanity right now. When you see a bad ruling or a bad law, it's very simple and very easy to go hands up in the air like they got it. This is terrible, even though you know it's unconstitutional, right? Well, even if you know it's unconstitutional, the system still has to take time to work. And that's incredibly important to understand. Very similar to when we talked about the rules that were coming out around the ghost gun bans. When Biden just flies off the handle and does whatever he wants through the executive order through the pen, there's certain things that he cannot do. And by the way, they're executive actions, not executive orders. So when you're talking about those types of things, it takes time. Our system was designed for slow movement, not for fast movement, which is one of the reasons that the progressives really don't like it, because you can't do things quickly. And just like you can't make things happen and implement changes quickly, you also can't correct changes quickly. And that's incredibly important to understand. This fight is going to pass on to our children, but we are going to make sure that we have them in the best position possible before we hand that football off, because we can do this. We are a lot greater than they want us to think we are. Woo! Yeah, hit that like button. That's right, 22 Guru. I like that. That's true. They might be overturning Roe v. Wade. You don't know what's going to happen. Dog and dog, or dog to dog, I kind of did answer that question. I don't have a perfect answer for you. I don't know exactly why they aren't doing that, because I'm not involved in that piece of it. But there's probably a reason. If all three of those people answered the same way, there's probably a reason, because we can't answer it. All right, so let's keep going here. Let's dive back into this right here, because I wanted to hit on something else. All right, so what's causing the actual slowdown on the bill, right? Because this is a really important piece. When you're looking at everything that's coming up, like from a standpoint on the bill, why they're not passing it, why they're not getting the bill legislatively written, why the text is not available, that's the important piece. What's causing that problem? So when you're looking at exactly what's occurring, they are getting stuck on red flag funding. I'm going to touch on that. And they're getting stuck on the boyfriend loophole thing. Personally, and this is, I have no evidence to support this. I was not in the room, so make it known that that's just my opinion. I don't know if boyfriend loophole is going to make it all the way through to the end, because it seems like it was thrown in as a bargaining chip, because the left didn't have anything in that negotiation, and even to this day, they don't really have any of their mainline goodies in there. So it sounds like the boyfriend loophole was something they pulled off the top and said, well, listen, will you just agree to it if we put the boyfriend loophole on there? That's what it sounds like to me. Now, I wasn't in the room. I'm not a senator. Just saying that's what I observed. So now let's talk about what's going on with the boyfriend loophole. So the reason that it's stalling, right? This is where all the marbles lay. The boyfriend loophole is basically a loophole that the gun controllers made up to rally around and say, well, that's not fair. It's a loophole, because they love loopholes. Basically, when you are a married couple or a spouse and you are convicted of domestic violence, then you're going to have your guns taken away under that statute of the existing law and say in the place. When you go under a boyfriend loophole, which is interestingly enough, because the left was told, the whole thing with the left was you don't need to have a marriage or relationship, you just do you, boo. Well, shocking. Then the boyfriend does the exact same thing, then there's no revocation of rights for the boyfriend, and that's the boyfriend loophole. Well, the only problem is it's a completely subjective perspective. Like, for example, Amy Klobuchar, who is leading that side of the argument, could say, like, well, they went on a date. That's a boyfriend. Or you could say, well, they were living together after 3 months, or they were sexually involved, so they're clearly very boyfriend girlfriend. So you can't have gun rights. And like it completely depends on the interpretation, which is really important, and that's why the sticking point on that. Now, the sticking point on the red flag piece that's important because I thought that was funny. So on the red flag law negotiations, the whole idea is funding for the states who want to do it. They leave it up to the states, which is a punt, in my opinion, because the Republicans didn't want to say no, but they didn't want to say yes. So they said, let's leave it to the states and just give them money, because that's easy. So when the Republicans say, well, what if my state doesn't want to do red flag laws? Well, the Democrats are like, then you don't get the money. So the Republicans say, well, wait, hold on. So you're telling me all 19 states that are leftist and Democrat get all the money because they have red flag laws, but Republicans don't get to use that money at all unless it's red flag laws? So the Democrats said yes to that question. Republicans, they said, well, that's not fair. We need to be able to use it for mental health and school hardening. Democrats don't want that. So it's getting stuck on the red flag law negotiation and the boyfriend loophole, which I find extremely fascinating, and that's why they can't write anything down. Now, it's not over by any means. We got to continue the fight, continue to contact, but it is starting to get to a point where it's like, where's this going? Because if they can't write anything down, they can't vote on it. And Chuck Schumer wanted that vote at the end of this coming week. So if they don't get it, that's a blow to their system. Now, per Jared's point, he's got something he made a point where they can write it till January 3rd. They can. But the further and further that they go, it's going to be harder and harder to get people on, because we're going to stay on them and they're going to start moving on to other things. So that's incredibly important to understand that piece. All right. Typing opportunity, because I get a good beverage. All right. Whew. Let's get it. Man, I am loving the activity in the comments field. You guys are on fire. Some amazing super chats. Good discussion. Man, you guys are killing it. All right. I got two more things we're going to hit on, and then we'll do an open Q&A if you want, and we'll just have some fun. So the thing with Bill Clinton, that was fascinating. The way you guys responded to that, I found that extremely fascinating. So I did a video this week, and it was well received, but the thing that was interesting about that was I was going from the perspective in that video of saying, guys, they're so far left, the gun controllers, the progressives are so far left, and they're so unpopular that even Bill Clinton is coming out and saying, guys, you at least have to recognize that they're human beings and talk to them. Which I thought that was an amazing point, because for Bill Clinton to be the voice of reason, I thought that was an interesting piece. But some of the comments that were saying, like, hey, don't trust them, they're never going to change their stripes. And I just kind of want to reiterate, I wasn't saying in that video that Bill Clinton was changing his stripes and all of a sudden he's for gun rights. What I'm saying is he does know how to communicate to people, and he's telling the far left that they are losing everyday Americans because they're not communicating. They're talking and communicating in a style of arrogance and condescension, not on meeting people where they are. He even said, meet people where they're at. And that was incredibly, I thought that was a very telling time for where we are right now. All right, Metal Fender guy Brad Walker. Thank you for the super chat. What do I think of the Winchester ammo thing? Okay, it's a very good question. I did address it earlier on, but in summation, at this point, it's not fully confirmed. I'm still waiting on confirmation. But even if they did do that in a hypothetical, even if they did, I think the free market would take up that slack, and you would see a the gap picked up very quickly. That's my personal opinion. Oh, and then the other thing about Bill Clinton, kind of touching that just for a second. The other thing about Bill Clinton, which was so interesting, I thought that was because when he went back in time and he did the AWB, the assault weapons ban, in 94, they lost so many seats right after that. And that was something that I think that he was also pulling from experience, that guys, when you touch their gun rights, they kind of kick you out of office. And I thought that was pretty important. It was actually Lake City, Reese. It was in the Lake City plant. Winchester was the manufacturer. Street play. I don't blame you, man. You got to get these beverages. All right, so I do have a lot of interest in the Delaware thing. What can be done about the Delaware ban? Okay, so the thing with Delaware, and this is kind of just high level because I haven't dove into it extremely deeply because federal has been taking up so much of the bandwidth. But anytime you have a ban of an entire platform like that, you're talking about something very similar to California's AR bans. They're working their way through the system, but to be honest, the more states that do this, the more occurrences that you have, the more the Supreme Court will be inclined to take that up. So in the short term, if a state passes that and it's an infringing law and it violates the Constitution, the only remedy for that is to go through the court system to get it into the Supreme Court, and they have to accept it and take it up, which if it's egregious enough, like banning an entire class of firearms, you might actually get that. And that's what it would be the next Bruin. That's what I mentioned earlier on. Bear Post, yeah, I think a red wave is absolutely incoming, 100%. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania here. Just started the video. I'm late tonight. That's okay. It's all good. I was late myself. Let me just keep going here. What are my thoughts on 3D printed firearms? So 3D printed stuff, honestly, you can't stop an individual from printing anything with a 3D printer. I think that's a wild, wild west of legislation, a wild, wild west of kind of like a frontier of firearms creation. So I don't know exactly. I don't know what's going to happen with that. My own personal belief is if you can make your own ammunition, you just can't sell it. Just saying. The red wave, that's right. Any advice for us in California? Yeah, keep fighting. I know you guys are constantly fighting, but keep going. Keep going because you're not alone. We are also fighting. And I'm telling you, the state of the 2A movement is getting really beautiful. I love that. It's really getting strong. We're getting a lot of great people. A lot more people are waking up to it. We're going in the right direction. Now, the one thing that I'm going to tell you that's really crucially important about the red wave that you guys are texting about over here, it's one thing to get a red wave in place and to make real good impact on that one day. It's another thing to stay actively involved and push our rights in the positive way across the board to where when they come at us again, they got to reclaim ground instead of take more. Just saying. Braden, you need to run for office. If it's in the cards, the good Lord willing, I will run for office. I'm not going to say no to that. I've learned a lot in my life. Don't rule things out because you never know where you're going to end up. Leave California and leave California. Yeah, California's doing a pretty good job of chasing everybody away. All right, so let me get this last little point here that I wanted to hit on, and then we'll open it up kind of across the board. So, did you guys see the video that I put up this morning around the Oakland ceasefire? Because if you didn't, you need to watch it. The video that I did this morning on the Oakland ceasefire is based around the concept that the Giffords.org, a main gun control group, knows how to reduce gun violence by 50% in Oakland alone from 2012 to 2018 in a study that they sanctioned, and they don't say anything about it. They're very quick to push gun control. They're very quick to push AWBs. all the red flag laws, everything over here that they know doesn't work. However, they have an existing thing, right? They have an existing study that proves it's not about gun control. It doesn't work. It's about infrastructure development. It's about people in the communities. It's about all these different things and systems of calling and basically focusing on the problem citizens who are the criminals. And then you go straight into support systems, violence interventions. Not one lick of gun control brought violence down 50% quickly and maintained it for 6 years. They recreated a similar thing in 9 out of 10 cities, also declined 34 to 68%. So anytime that you say to somebody, or someone says to you, the only way is gun control, cite them that study, the Oakland ceasefire. They have nothing after that. It's incredible. Anyway, that's my thing. All right, we had a couple super chats I got to hit on. As James Carville said, it's the economy stupid. Very true. If you guys don't know who James Carville is, he is a Democratic strategist. He's like a legend in the Democratic circles, and he's flat out saying that the woke stuff is going to break them. It's going to break the Democrats. He's doing a really, quite honestly, he's giving them a run for their money on the Democrat side. Carl Schneider, first campaign donation. I appreciate that, Carl. That's awesome. So you were in the funding pool for Langley 2050 or something, or 2048 or something like that. That'd be awesome. All right, so those are my main points. I've got stored up for you guys, kind of our recap, but now the fun part. What do you guys want to talk about? You can leave it over here. We're at 42 minutes. I leave these to about 50 minutes long. Let me know what you guys want me to address over here. I'll try my best to address them, and they'll make it happen. Let's see. Let's check it out. Broke Disney and Netflix going for woke. Yeah, that's true. You go woke, you go broke. That is true. What's up, Mississippi? American Hospital Association v. Becerra. So street play, that's something that I don't know enough about, and I will refer you to the legal scholar. Arms scholar. He did a whole video on that, which was solid. Gotta have it every time. Louis Pulowski. Let's talk about abolishing the ATF. So here's what I'm going to warn you on, or caution you on, Louis. Not saying pro or against. I'm just hear me out. When you look at what the ATF is, the ATF was originally designed as a revenue generator, as a tax collecting service. It enforced taxes on alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. That was the entire premise. It was under the IRS. It moved over to the DOJ, but it still collects like $60 million a year. Okay, so when you're talking about, and that's only in fees. That's not fines. That's only in fees, like NFA fees and stuff of that nature. So when you're talking about abolishing an ATF as the enforcement agency or removing firearms from their mandate, it's going to end up somewhere else. And the one thing that I would caution anybody who is very pro ATF from abolishing the ATF is make sure the devil you have is not worse than the devil that you would get. Because I don't believe that the government is going to say, oh, I know it's generating $60 million and I know it's an existing law through the NFA, but we don't really need the ATF to look at it. They're just going to, maybe the FBI or the DOJ can look at it, and then we've got a whole different set of problems, if that makes sense. So from the perspective of abolishing the ATF, I don't think it's actually going to happen because you're going to talk about it's just transferring. So you're going from no enforcement from the ATF into, well, crap, now we have the FBI or now we have the DOJ or whatever, what have you. So, and then you get different funding things. There's a lot to talk about from a abolish the ATF perspective. Appreciate what you do. Thank you, Brian. I don't remember the exact cost of the ATF. I know it's nowhere near the FBI's budgets, though. All right. MH Caffey, if we have a big red wave, do you think the do-nothing Republicans will rein in the ATF? I don't believe they will abolish the ATF, no. I believe they will rein in the ATF, yes. When you're talking about the control aspect, it depends how big the control is. If you have a red wave where the Democrats lose the House and the Senate and Biden's a lame duck, at that point, depending on the majorities or supermajorities, you can actually affect change in a much larger way. So hypothetically, if you get to like 54 senators or you get to almost 2/3 in the House, and then you have another election in 2024 where you get a Republican president, which is highly likely, showing how things are going, and you still pick up more House and more seats, you get a supermajority, then you're talking about some things right there. That's when you're like, whoa, I was alive for that. That's that kind of stuff. Sorry, guys. Sometimes these chats fly pretty fast, and I try to get all of them. Oh, Bear Post. Why don't we put the ATF to work on our borders? That's a whole different thing. Why? Because Kamala Harris would not have it. That's why. Oh, Kamala. Smitty Smith. Hey, I appreciate that, man. All right, so Setterfield, remove the NFA. I want freedom to buy the burst fire. So that's actually interesting. So the NFA, you guys, like, this always pops up in live streams. So I don't think you're going to get the NFA abolished. I think you'll have a lot of things removed. So I don't believe that the NFA is going to be completely done away with. I think you're still going to have full auto staying in there. But I think that suppressors and maybe SBRs will eventually be removed. Again, it takes time because the system takes the time. Kevin DeLay, I enjoy your show. Keep up the great work. Hey, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Oh, man. Some of these I can't read, guys. You guys are funny. Man. What do I think about Biden's biking incident? I mean, honestly, the dude fell over on a bike. I don't want anyone to be hurt. Was it funny? Yeah. But I mean, sometimes you just fall over. I've also seen him fall upstairs, which I'd never seen anybody else do before. So, oh man, I don't think David Deese. I don't think you're going to get them to open up the log for new full autos. I don't think that's going to be a thing. But again, there's a lot of time between here and there. I don't know exactly. Let's see. Just going to keep this up. I got about 2.5 more minutes, 3 minutes, and then we'll wrap this. Okay, so the assault bicycles thing, I saw that on Legally Armed American. That was actually a really, really funny title. That was hilarious. Joseph, keep up the good work. Hey, I appreciate that. You guys keep on watching, keep on sharing, and we can make this happen. I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. He couldn't stick the landing. No, he couldn't. That's true. All right, so I don't know, Lewis, on that point. I could not speak to that. I doubt that will truly happen. I think she's kind of out there. Talking about Nancy Pelosi, by the way. All right, I'm going to try to catch up on a few of these, and then we will... Oh, there's another super chat. Thank you, Nimble Sea Urchin. South Dakota has 0 fees for CCW active July 1st. I'd love to hear more about the states that are making progress on furthering 2A rights. Oh, that's actually a very good reminder. I have to touch on that because someone asked that earlier. So right now we are sitting at 50 states constitutional carry, which is incredible. That's amazing. We're going to make more progress on that this year. It completely depends on how these midterms shake out. And the reason I say that is because that depends on how far we're going to go. All right? So, for example, if Pennsylvania gets Mastriano in, you're going to get constitutional carry in Pennsylvania. That's one. If Michigan kicks out Whitmer, the exact same thing's going on there, Republican Senate and House, you're going to get it there. Florida, they've already talked about it. They want it. You're talking about at least, bare minimum, 3 more. You've got Minnesota up there, which I don't know if it's going to flip, but it's possible. So right now, you're talking about 3 states that are next on the constitutional, which will put us at 28. I don't know anything beyond that. We might have to sit by and watch. Oh, in Louisiana, someone just wrote that. Louisiana might be 29. So if we can get to 29, that'd be insane. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy good. But we'll see. Honestly, it's all about how active we are. Shimmy96110, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Man, you guys really love the Biden's bike thing. That's so funny. How about South Carolina? So South Carolina is an interesting one because you guys produced Lindsey Graham. I don't know if that one's going to hit. We'll see. Again, it all depends on how red the states go. Oh, very angry citizen. You know I can't read that one. He can't even deal with gravity, let alone the economy. I can't read with that one. Oh, I'll get in trouble for that one. All right, so now Stephen NG. Now that's the thing. I have this nightmare scenario where Gavin Newsom decides to run for president, and if he comes out of California, I'm going to be so sad. I need him to stay over there and then go away, not go higher up nationally. Gigoko, would you be willing to go on with Rakita Law at any point to talk Second Amendment? I would have to look into it, but I can absolutely explore that if that's a valid invitation. Just send an email to live@langleyfirearmsacademy.com and I will review that. Let's see here. What kind of trouble? YouTube wouldn't like when I say certain words. No, Davy Hogg wouldn't be caught traveling with armed security. That would never happen. I personally think Whitmer's going to get kicked out this year. Sorry, Roddy's rule. I know it's terrible. All right. So this is the last thing I'm going to address real quick, and then I'll hit something. Springfield XDM Street Playa. So. Second Chronicles, what guarantees these next two elections will be secure? Here's my answer on that. What guarantees it is you getting every single person that you know and every single individual and yourself to go and overwhelm anything that you would be afraid of. So my answer is, if you're going to be afraid, and I'm not saying it's unfounded or founded, I'm not applying a opinion on that. What I'm saying is, if that's something that you're concerned about, you get every single person that you know to kick in. You make these lines so large that these quantities are so big that it makes it impossible. If that's something that would be a worry. And that's my personal opinion. That's what we're going to do. Honestly, I think that this November is going to be insane. All right. So with that, guys, I'm going to wrap this live stream because we were at 52 minutes and 17 seconds. But I appreciate your time. Last question. Do you think national concealed carry is a possibility? You have supermajorities in Senate and Senate and House Republican with the president? Yes, I do. All right, guys. With that, I thank you so much for checking out the live stream. I appreciate it. I will see you tomorrow morning on the Bullet Points episode for Father's Day, and you guys have a beautiful night. Thank you so much. I'll see you later.